Well, yeah, I'm really excited about today. My name is DeBoer. I'm one of the programmers for the festival, and it's completely my honor, and I'm very excited about today's Cinema Café conversation. It's my joy to introduce today's guests. We have Jocelyn DeBoer, Don Luebbe, Jen Tullock, and Hannah Utt. And on behalf of Sundance, we would like to thank our panelists for being here and also congratulate them on their feature film debuts, which they had this week, Greener Grass and Before You Know It. Yeah, it was really exciting. I also really want to thank Jim Cummings, our moderator. He's a longtime friend of the festival. He's a prolific actor, writer, director, and we're always happy to have him with us. Please come back. We have other conversations in this space until the end of the festival, including tomorrow, Jane Campion and Tessa Thompson. So please check out our schedule on our website and the app. And now, help me welcome all of our guests. Yay! Wherever you guys want. This is for you.
Thank you so much, Dulcia. Dulcia Barrera, everybody. Thank you. You gonna steal my seat?
Where do you want to sit?
It's like a clown car. And these 4 seats would be helpful. How's it going, everybody? So yeah, I have the distinct pleasure of moderating this. I've never moderated anything in my life, but I'll do my best.
He's not very
and it's
moderate.
for filmmakers who I know and love. I'm very lucky to have that ability this morning. And I wanted to talk first off about Greener Grass. So I haven't had a chance to see y'all's film, unfortunately. I couldn't get tickets. It's sold out like hotcakes. But I want to talk a little bit about Greener Grass. It is based on a South by Southwest winning short film, and it is written, directed, and starring both of you. And I got to see it the other night, and it is gnarly. And
Jim Cummings has a part in Greener Grass. So
I do. It's a very small part. It's great. But I really, really, really did enjoy it, and I wanted to hear about the movie. So just from the beginning, what is it about?
If you've seen the movie, you are probably the people who laughed at that question.
How to answer.
First, I just want to say we feel so lucky to be here. And hi, and I'm Jocelyn, and this is Dawn. And Greener Grass, well, we're satirizing suburbia. So both of us grew up as middle children in the Midwest. I'm from Illinois, and Dawn's from Nebraska. And
we both play mothers in the movie of like 7-year-old boys, and it's sort of about like women kind of keeping up appearances and this slight competition kind of between them for keeping up with the Joneses that goes a bit absurd.
And Hannah and Jen, tell us about Before You Know It.
You go.
Yeah, okay. Before You Know It is about
2 sisters.
yes, who are still living in
The childhood home they grew up in.
with
Their father, their playwright father, and
her character's 13-year-old daughter
13-year-old daughter.
above the family theater that they own and operate.
And what some might consider a codependent hotbed.
Some. And the stories about what happens when they find out that the mother they were told died when they were young is in fact alive and starring on a soap opera, so their already very dramatic life gets pulled into a literal soap opera.
And you both wrote it together, and then Hannah directed it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about writing and writing ensemble, because I think that's something that I do with friends, and y'all have done so well. So Jocelyn and Dawn, tell me about writing together. And I feel like all of these questions that I see to artists, they always talk about like the artistry of doing it instead of the practicals of doing it. Like, what programs do y'all use? Like, what is it like trading text messages in the middle of the night? Of like, is this a good idea? Tell us about that. And how long did it take to go from short to feature?
Oh, okay. I'm excited to talk about practical. I don't know if we have done that. We use this program called Writer's Duet.
Yeah.
You guys,
it's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Oh, good.
A lot of
Okay.
Writers Duet fans.
So you can really, it keeps up with you in real time. So if we usually we both have it open on our laptops, and then one of us types, and we come from an improv background, so a lot of our writing is us kind of doing things and then like, oh good, let's write that part down. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then the other two. So this was, before you know it, was part of like many Sundance programs, and I've seen interviews with y'all talking about how it changed, like when you went to the director's workshop and stuff like that. So what was the writing process like for the both of you?
It evolved quite a bit along the way. I mean, we've been working on a version of this story for 8 years. Yeah. And we've been friends for longer than that. So we like to say we really grew up with this script. And if you look at earlier incarnations of it, that's certainly true. Not just in learning to write and to structure, but also in what we believe about the world. But the labs, so Hannah went through the director labs, and I joined her for the screenwriter labs. And I think one of the primary things that we discovered during that incubation was, to answer your question about writing ensemble, that there were some characters, I think, in our story whose narratives we hadn't quite figured out. We knew that they existed in the world and why we loved them, but they, in the sort of Tetris game of the actual story, we hadn't quite figured out where they fit.
Yeah, I think owning the fact that even though we had this really big premise, we wanted to talk about the emotional nuance of family, and learning to own your own shit. But we used to like lock ourselves in a room together. And it was like word for word, you do a word, I do a word. And then we work differently with different people, but our dynamic has, we found what works best for us is that we build out the world together.
Break the story,
figure out the characters. I'll take the lead on writing. We edit together. Jen punches up, and then Jen just comes up with all the best stuff on set. Just all of your favorite lines in the movie are probably Jen's improvs.
So I was going to ask this later, but this is a question from Twitter, but it kind of perfectly fits into this. Maxwell Kleiber from Los Angeles asks, for so long I've been hearing don't work with your friends. It's super encouraging to see otherwise. What are the benefits of working with your friends?
Maxwell, where did you hear that?
Yes, we only work with our friends.
Yeah.
It's funny, we have had, of course, the opposite experience. Jocelyn and I met, I don't know, maybe in 2010, 2011, when we were put on a sketch team at the Upright Citizens Brigade in New York. Yeah. And that the 12 people from that team are truly our family, and almost all of them are in the movie. Yeah. We do everything together. And for Jocelyn and I think working together at UCB for so long, we one, became very close friends, and two, just really gravitated towards each other's sense of humor and really developed our shared voice together over that time.
But there is no one in my life that I spend more time with than Dawn. We truly, we have to spend so much time together given what we do. And I can't imagine doing that with someone you're not friends with.
It'd be awful, yeah.
We're the same. I mean, we were best friends before we started collaborating together, and the two have truly gone in tandem. And regardless of gender, I think when you love another human being very much and you have a sense of trust, it informs the work. And I feel like if that is the bedrock of your dynamic, then you can't go wrong. I mean, we tell each other the truth all of the time. It's not always pretty.
Even as we start talking about the things we'll make beyond this and the stuff we want to do separately, it's always so I'll be a PA on that, or what are you going to need me
I'll
doing?
Just be there.
Yeah. And the other thing about working with your friend, Maxwell?
Yeah.
Have good friends.
Yes, that's important.
Don't work with bad friends. That's a mistake. But the big one for us was communication. I think we learned so much about the benefits of confronting the immediate discomfort of being honest versus the long-term pain of putting something off or stifling your needs.
It's kind of like getting allergy shots for the first time. You know, it really only does feel like a prick once you've experienced it. And that's sort of manifest in the movie too. I mean, that's one of the themes that we were exploring. But that's a great question, Maxwell. I hope that you have awesome friends.
He's probably on the internet right now. Thank you, Maxwell. We appreciate the question. So yeah, I kind of wanted to talk more about those misconceptions that a lot of people who are outside of the film industry or just starting in the industry have, like that, of like being encouraged to go through the Hollywood system and work your way up. All of y'all have started in short form content and then expanded from the short form to larger stuff and now are successful feature filmmakers and beyond. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that, of like, I mean, I've had success in going from short to feature, and I wanted to kind of demystify the experience for anybody who's listening. I feel like people who are accepted into Sundance sometimes get seen as being part of this like club in this like glass castle in the sky, and I want to talk about what it was like for y'all to make this movie as a means of encouraging other people that it's possible and that you can do it yourself.
Well, for one thing, I want to say thank you for your consistent use of y'all, because I'm from Kentucky, so that's appreciated, just for openers. I don't know, I feel like you guys, the three of you could probably speak more to that, because I didn't direct this movie.
Oh, sure. Yeah, doing... Don and I didn't go to film school, and we made 3 short films before making our feature, and that was our film school. We learned so much making those shorts, and I definitely don't think we could have ever made a feature without doing those. Learning so much about the technical side of things, and sitting in the edit, I felt like was my best learning tool. We just quietly sat behind our editor almost the entire process, and that's how we really learned about shots and the storytelling and what you need, etc. So that making shorts, I feel like there's so much value in doing just on their own. And then obviously a short film serves as a great proof of concept when you're trying to get funding for your feature film, just to say this is what it looks like, and look, people liked it, and that sort of thing.
I will say this might be crazy, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say making a feature is only like 3 times as much work as making a short. Because with a short, you're already coming up with the entire world, the look, you're hiring your entire team. I feel like our shorts took about half as long to make as our features.
Yeah, like our short Buzz took longer than our feature.
Way longer. We worked on it for, I don't want to even admit
it's
how
not
long.
out yet, but it's coming. It's still not ready.
Yeah. So I'd say if you can make a short, you're truly half the way there to being able to make a feature.
Yeah.
If there's anyone watching who is able to finance shorts from people who have never made anything, please do that. It takes so little money, and it's so hard to get the money to make your first thing. We're all, we're waiting tables, we're trying to book that national commercial, if you're lucky. We're doing everything we can to scrape together the money we need just to prove that we can do this. And I just wish that when I have money, I will finance your first short film.
Yes, that's so true.
So tell me about what it was like being on set. What is it like making movies for y'all? What is the process like? The actual present experience of making something, of being on set for a feature film.
That is such a big question. It is incredibly exhilarating, especially you guys we all wrote what we shot. So you can imagine we had the most incredible actors in our film, as did you guys, of course, but hearing people that just elevate your material so much and getting to watch it and be like, wow, this is even better than we could have ever imagined. There was so much of that. Don and I looking at each other with our cans on, being like,
it's happening.
So exciting.
Yeah. And I think with crew too, hiring our production designer Lee Poindexter, our costume designer Lauren Oppelt,
our cinematographer Lowell Merritt.
Yeah, we had conversations with them and a lot of planning, but then to show up on set and see what they have come up with, and it just exceeds anything you had in your imagination. That was truly one of the most exhilarating things.
But it's also so hard. I think it's the hardest thing I've ever done.
I had the time of my life. I mean, people kept being like, "How are you? Are you okay?"
Yeah.
I was like, "This is the best I'm capable of feeling."
Yeah.
I think there was also a cognitive dissonance that happened on set for me anyway, because there were a handful of actors we had that have been heroes of mine since I was a kid, and going in to starting to do script work in the early stages with rehearsals and seeing that these people that I consider to be the apex of the industry were just excited to crack open the script, our script, and say like, they just wanted to work. And seeing that, it sounds silly, but being there and feeling that sort of leveling experience, that was the most emotional part for me, because I was like, oh, I don't know what I expected, but there was no grand, trumpeting of the movie beginning. It was like, here are these people that I was such anticipatory nerves about working with, showing up knee to knee with me with the same script open. And that was like, okay, we're just here to make the best story that we can, period.
It also kind of feels like tapping into an alternate reality where you're like, oh, it did always exist. It's always been here, and now it's just ready to emerge so we can capture it on film. Like, here are the people, these are the places. I have kind of like a mystical relationship to
I think you're both very lucky. You're all very lucky that you have good teams. Like there's a good quote from Issa Rae. She says, "Network across, not up." And it's like by having the people around you that are the juggernauts,
That's
you can
great.
really, yeah. So kind of expound on that. Like, what is it like to build your team? And then like, I'm very lucky in that sense too. We have the same producer, Natalie Metzger, who produces my movies as well.
God.
She is. But like, we would not be able to do these things, and a lot of people don't have that. So sometimes it is like I'm speaking Greek to people, where I'm like, oh, just get your friends together and make a movie. It can be very difficult. So I guess talk about that, like finding the people who helped you to get to where you are now.
Well, this couldn't be more true about our movie. We really did use so many people from what we call our film family. But we met Natalie Metzger, who's our incredible producer, through Jim, because our short Greener Grass was in competition with Thunder Road at South by, and we just Facebook messaged him. We met him at a party, we loved your movie, and then we Facebook messaged him. We're making another short, we want a great producer, and that's how we found Natalie. And then Lowell, I acted in Jim's movie Thunder Road, and Lowell was his cinematographer, and then I loved him, and I was like, we gotta get him for our movie. And then the Upright Citizens Brigade community, our friends that we'd been working with forever, we hired as actors. Lauren Oppold has done costumes for almost everything we've done. Yeah. Our composer, Sam Nobles, has written music for literally everything we've done, including the 2 episodes of television we directed in the fall, which he randomly also composed for. I could go on and on, but it's we met those people through making things and also taking classes at UCB, I would say, and lots of Facebook messaging.
Just watching short films that we loved and then randomly reaching out to those people and getting recommendations.
Yeah, that's always counterintuitive to me. There is no like industry that is Hollywood. And sometimes that industry is people who don't actually make movies. It sometimes takes going to like Vimeo staff picks and be like, oh, that was shot in a neighborhood next to mine. I gotta meet these people. And like there really is this kind of crowdsourced film industry that is the people that actually make stuff. How did y'all find your team?
This movie was a little different. The core team, like, we'd been working together forever. Mallory came on. Mallory
Schwartz.
Mallory Schwartz is our lead producer, and she was the first person who pointed out that I wanted to be directing because I'd written something for myself that someone else had directed, and the next short I'd written, I was complaining to her about not being able to find a director who could do exactly what I wanted them to do. And she was like, buddy, I think you should just save someone the misery of that experience and direct this. And she was going to produce that, but it didn't work out because she started working for Alec Baldwin, which is where that relationship started. He's also in the movie. But we knew we wanted to work on something together, and she knew that we had this movie, and then Alec saw me in something else, and so I had a general with him, and I was like, come on, Mallory, let's get him in this. Yeah. And so that was many years ago, and she's been developing it with us and just hanging in there for a while. Josh Hetzler, our other producer, came on pretty late in the process, but he's actually also basically my brother-in-law. He's my boyfriend's brother-in-law. Jen's brother did the music.
He also scored our series, so we're entering that vortex as well.
Victor's brother was the music supervisor. Like, it really was a family affair as much as it could be. Kent, our editor, is a friend. He had worked for free for me on a short, and that's the other advice. Work for free. When you're starting out, just do it. It sucks, but just do it. You'll meet people that you will work with down the line. And I just loved Kent's sense of humor and general disposition, and had an instinct that he could do it. But a lot of finding the team, because most of the stuff I'd made was in LA, I had to really trust the department heads I'd already hired to build out their teams, our line producer. And then I relied a lot on, I say magic, my producers hate that because they're like, it's good producing. But my DP, I lost my DP like a week before I was supposed to go out for soft prep. And I'd interviewed tons of people, but I just wasn't having an instinct about anybody. And because I'm in front of the camera, you have to, you just have to trust that person. And I was trying to Airbnb my apartment so I could go to New York, and this woman came to look at it, and I was like I was just sketched out by having people in my apartment in general, and I was trying to vet her however I could, and she said she was staying with a DP in Hollywood, and I was like, what's his name? Like, I want to see if this guy's real. And Googled him, and as soon as I saw this person's work, I was like, that's my person.
That's how you found your DP.
Yeah. Crazy. She didn't take my apartment, and
But you took
he
the
and I
DP.
met the next day, and I just knew immediately, and we had to jump through so many hoops to get him to New York and whatever, but there was a lot of that kind of stuff happening.
How funny.
Yeah.
How funny. Okay, I have one more question from Twitter, and then I have one final question, and then we'll open it up to the audience. So this is from Carlos Sagan. I think that's a fake name. So as many of you acted and directed at the same time. Did you feel like it was ineffective to do that, or were you ever worried that your acting might be strained while you were directing?
That's a great question. It was very scary to me as an actor, because when I only act in things, I really love to like take my time and get into the head of my character's head and have space and all of that. And when you're directing, you're trying to do that, but then people are coming at you with like these napkins or these napkins, and like things like that. But I will say it's something we're so used to doing now that we've found a rhythm to work in. And I think it's important when you're acting, when you really need that space and time to tell your producer, if you're lucky enough to have a co-director, just explain that. But otherwise, especially when you write the thing, you just know the character so well. I feel like it went okay.
Yeah, I feel like we have a slightly different situation because we are co-directors, but like I just feel so comfortable as an actor around Jocelyn, and I feel like the way she would talk to me and coach me through a scene, like even if like a second before we were like fussing with napkins, she can just like get me to a place where I can get and snap into it.
And likewise, yes.
That's so lovely. Yeah, I found it really hard.
Next question.
I've done it a bunch, and I think I'm going to take a little break from acting in the next one, so I can the days I spent I love acting with Jen, acting with Judith, acting with Manny. I mean, it was incredible. The days I got to just be behind the camera doing one job were very special. And I would like to have that special experience a little more. I gave myself fewer takes than I gave everyone else also, which I won't do next time.
She also nailed it every time. I mean, she's not going to say this of herself, but I think it sounds like it's exactly the same case with you two as well, where you knew your characters so well because you'd created them from dust. So by the time you're wearing both hats, you know, it feels like a lived-in experience. And I feel like that it was really made me feel very proud as your friend to watch you do that, because I weren't just pulling it off; you were like nailing both to the point where I was like, "What is wrong with you?"
With your friends, Maxwell.
What's next for y'all? What are you doing next?
Sleeping, going to museums.
Maybe a vacation.
Yeah.
We haven't.
Can we come to the
holiday.
museum?
Yeah, we're gonna go to a mountain town and.
Don and I, we were all ready to pitch a television show we've been working on, but after this experience making features, we are kind of like, do we want to make another feature next? So we're just trying to figure out what makes sense. Yeah.
I'm working on a movie for Jen to star in. And that's all I'll say about it, but I think it's gonna be great.
I'm very excited about that movie. I'm developing a show as well, and then trying to write my first feature by myself, which is scary.
Cool.
But it has been a cool challenge. Yeah, and I'm sure I'm going to get notes from her every 3 days. So that will be great.
Okay, cool. Let's open it up to the audience. The one preamble I'll have is that make sure it's for one team and not both, unless it's a great question. Hand up.
This question's for the Before You Know It team. I was just wondering how you guys managed to balance like this beautifully fresh, sometimes almost improvisational quality dialogue with these wonderful long takes that seem so well choreographed.
Thank you for saying that. That's awesome. Hannah?
For me, it's in prep. I like to spend as much time as I can asking my actors questions, basically in character. So it's kind of like therapy. You know, I just want to know as much as I can about them, so that
You will interview them while they are in their characters.
yeah, not necessarily. Or you know, Judith was just always in character. She was constantly. I would be like, so when do you think Sherelle moved to New York or whatever? And she would start weeping.
She would be like, I had to move there.
Oh, that is so fascinating.
It's amazing.
Which was amazing. And Mandy, too, actually. Mandy had a really emotional experience with that. But prep, so everybody kind of knows who they are and what their point of view is and where they're coming from. And then really good actors. Really good actors and a really sensitive camera team who could respond to what we were giving them take to take. And trust, you know, and like just stupidity. Like, we can do this in a oneer.
Hi, this question is for Don and Jocelyn. You guys talked about doing like improv and then going from that to film. And ironically, like just a week ago, I was also working with my friends, like improving and writing on Writer Duet. So I was just thinking like, but I also love film and movies, and I was like, I had to leave that to come here, and it's like it felt like such a like non sequitur, like I can't possibly do both, you know. And then to hear you guys like go from one to the other, I'm really curious like how you do that, like literally and then also emotionally, and what the tie-in is.
Oh, I love that question. I think the tenets of improv are a good basis for every aspect of being creative in any kind of art. What improv really did for me, I would say, is it helped me learn to listen and respond to things in the moment. So I feel like I was an acting major in school, and I feel like I would get really into wanting to control everything. And I know what this should be. This is like, I'm going to do it this way. And with improv, you cannot do that. You have to go out on stage not knowing what you're going to do. And so I feel like being able to have that freedom helps me as a writer, not trying to control everything, but being like, oh, that thing Don just pitched is funny. Here's the, like, I'm listening and reacting to just that thing in the moment. And then also that helps with directing decisions, definitely acting. So I would say it's a good lifeblood for me as a creator entirely.
Yeah, and I think, just kind of adding on to like in the actual writing process, we'd have kind of a rough idea or outline of how a scene would go, and then we would just like banter back and forth, improving, and it might go in a very different direction that is what we liked a lot more, and just having that openness and flexibility in the writing process.
And I will say that improv, it sometimes is bantering, but Don, wouldn't you say it's in our fingers? Like, we'll do that with writing, and not like we're standing up and acting things out, but it's like, here's one silly line of dialogue, and then like, oh, put this next. Like, it's like really in the writing process.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go for it, dude. Just go for it.
So this is for both, but hopefully it's a good enough question.
We'll have to see.
Yes. So both like very radically different films, but at their core, they're both about, like, they have heavy themes of family and competition. So when you're writing, do you approach it thinking about the themes, or like beat to beat? Like, how do you go scene to scene while attacking such heavy themes?
Ladies, do you want to start?
That's a great question. I feel like before we started getting into any kind of dialogue, we outlined for ourselves what the themes we wanted to tackle were. And then when choosing the scenes, we would be like, why do we think this scene needs to exist? And what's the heartbeat of that underlying thing?
And really, before writing, developing the characters' relationships, like what our characters' relationships were to each other, and with our husbands and each other's husbands, and like really like figuring out the texture of those, and then going into the actual writing.
So like themes on a macro level, and then getting into the more micro, how they manifest themselves in the world.
Again, because we learned so much about writing, period, in the world of this movie, and since have made other things, but this is kind of the OG, we didn't really, I at least will speak for myself, I think Hannah's always had a greater acuity with this, but we really learned structure while working on this. I think it started when we were much younger, this particular story, with just who these people were and what they were feeling. And then as we...
It's still really, I think it's mostly driven by the relationships. The themes I would talk about with the department heads. I would never talk about it with, actors, because I don't think that helps. But I think it's more a matter of keeping in mind what the feeling you want to convey, and then knowing how to communicate that to the various people who are building it out. The script went through many different iterations. It had a different theme, it had many different themes at many different times, but we really kind of let the characters guide us, I think, in this most recent iteration.
Yeah.
Bunch of questions, yeah.
Hi, this was for Hannah and Jen. Great job. Loved it. Love those actors, and you guys too, fab. I want to go back to process a little bit. You had this short film, then you were going to do this, which had a long story iteration. How did you get involved in the lab here? And when did you do the writer's lab first, the director's lab first? Did it come through an agency, or how did you get involved?
So the short film, we both acted in and produced, and it was directed by Joey Alley. We wanted our first experience acting and something to just be focused on that. And she did a great job. And that, when we played here, that's when we were introduced to the Institute people. We met with Elise. She asked if we were working on anything else. We had Before You Know It. And then our producer was at the festival with us, and she applied to the creative producing labs with that same script. So she did that first, and then we were planning on shooting a few months later, so they put me through a mini directing workshop in LA. I don't know why. I don't know how. I was just like, what? Who? Michelle? Yeah, I can talk. And that was led by Julia Gazdag and Joan Darling, who work at the director's lab. And after doing that, I went to my producer Mallory, and I was like, I don't want to make this movie until I can do that, and I want to see if I can do that full lab. And the timing was just right, and they let me do that. And then you can pick it up from there.
Thanks, pal. And so to answer the last part of your question, the director labs happen first in this particular, I think they typically do. So I was able to come as an actor because you shoot workshop scenes, right? And then they pair you with advisors. It's incredible. It's like boot camp. So Hannah was there directing the scenes. We were both acting in them. And then at the end of that time, the screenwriter labs happened. So I was able to join her. And then after having done all that work in the director labs, which for me was really fun because I was kind of just there as an observer, and we of course were talking about things at the end of the day, but I wasn't there as a fellow yet. I was kind of just there, to tap dance a little bit. And then when we started the screenwriter labs, it was so cool to crack the script open, having learned what we did on the front end.
It's also where we met Judith Light. But no, agents, you get on Sundance's radar, and they really support. They just support people, and I don't know why they're so kind. But we also had our series that was happening, and so there was an example of my directing and us being in it at that point. Okay.
Let's do way in the back over here.
Hi, guys. First of all, congratulations on your achievement, because just the fact that you all believe in each other and constantly believe in each other and what you do is amazing. So my question is, what does a short budget look like?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. It can be anything. I think it can be anything. I think you can make a short with no money at all. Or we, especially when we were at Clermont-Ferrand in France, saw shorts that were almost $1 million.
Yeah, there was one with helicopters.
Yeah,
We were like, what
helicopters.
happened?
Ours, if you're thinking about financing shorts,
Ours
the
cost
$1 million
about,
ones are the best.
ours cost about a shave and a haircut, okay?
no, we raised for partners for the film that introduced us to Sundance. Yes. We raised $2,000 on Indiegogo, and that was our budget.
Thank you, Indiegogo. Yeah, that's great.
And it's awesome, and it's available on Vimeo, and it's shot in a single apartment, and it's performed incredibly, and it's worth watching. It gives you an idea of the fact that you don't need $1 million, that you need to make something that has a great performance and focus on the right stuff.
I also want to say...
Called Partners.
Partners. I also want to say quickly, so I came from a video background. When I was in New York, I was making internet shorts, for lack of a better term, that I would write and produce and direct myself. But I didn't call them shorts because I think I was insecure about saying, well, they were mostly comedies, so they're not films, And Hannah was the first person that was like, no, bro, that's not how this works. Like, get a team. No, it was in love. I mean, it was helpful. She was like, you can. The merit of something is just what you call it, And so when we started working together, it was the first time that, I had experienced having a crew and raising a budget as opposed to like overdrawing my bank account to shoot something,
Right. Yeah, 2000 to 6 is what I've spent on all of my shorts.
So I want to answer that kind of like technically and also philosophically. Technically, there are like really great templates that you can download from the internet of like Excel spreadsheets that have like different departments and what you can spend on it. That's a very helpful thing just to plug things in. But then philosophically, the answer should be that it doesn't matter, and that like really we have all of these ideas that something has to look a certain way, and it can sometimes be this inadequacy trap that never makes you do anything. And the answer is just a budget should look however it should look to you. Question.
Hi. So I have a creative partner as well. How do you navigate, and this is for both parties, how do you navigate the work friend? Like, I feel like sometimes you just have to turn it off and like communicate, we are friends now. Mm-hmm. How do you guys navigate that?
That's such a good question. Don and I, to truly treat our jobs together like a 9 to 5, except like 8 to midnight. But I would say when we're working, do you agree that we truly don't talk about our friends and like significant others and la la la, but then at lunch we will sometimes.
Yeah.
But we do try to keep it professional because I think that actually is very important. She's my, she keeps us like working and vice versa. And
We'll like make coffee for 15 minutes in the morning and be like, oh, what'd you do last night? And chit chat. And then like we sit down and just work and don't at all talk about each other's personal lives.
But we did something that really worked for our feature, which I'm just remembering now. What did we call it? Like, so we like deep work. Oh, this is so stupid. But we did something where we literally set a timer on our phone and we turned off our phones, we put on airplane mode so we wouldn't, there's this scary thing that happens where your mouse just goes to Facebook or and you're trying to be on Writer's Duet and something happens. So we would do an hour of deep work and then we'd set the timer and have a 5-minute break. Or we'd do an hour and a half of deep work. Now I feel like such a nerd.
That's a real thing.
A 10-minute break. So yeah, you have to come up with methods that work for you.
Communication again. That's the big one. Just talk to each other kindly. Maxwell.
Let's go for you, yeah. How much time do we have?
Okay.
20 minutes, perfect. Oh, there's a sign and everything. Cool.
I'll be fast.
You don't have to be.
Yeah,
we have 20
we got all the time in the world.
Stretch it out.
I guess I'm trying to think. I guess. Well, I mean, this question at first was mainly for before you know it, but because I come from San Francisco, from San Jose, San Francisco, and I know how it is to shoot films there. But how was it to shoot in New York?
That's my producers would probably have a very different answer. They did a really good job of making me seem like it was just the dreamiest place in the world to shoot. One really great thing about New York is it is so much itself. Like there are so many amazing casting opportunities when it comes to actors and locations. I think texture was such an important part of the movie, and New York has so much of that. But the crews also, so many of the crews I feel like come up together in film school at NYU or Columbia or what's the Art Institute? So they already have a working dynamic, and coming from LA and having it be my first feature, that was super important, that they already had trust amongst themselves. And sound, I mean, God, what a nightmare. The shooting on the street is just, it just is what it is, and you make the most of it and hope that you don't have to ADR an entire really important scene.
I was convinced that an ex of mine had hired every fire truck in Manhattan to drive by every time we were shooting an important scene. I was like, okay, I see you. Also, it helped that we fell in love in New York. We lived in New York for a long time, and we started writing this movie in New York. And I know it's such a tired cliche to say New York is a character, but it was for us. And it was a place where we learned that we wanted to do this for a living. It's where we became friends, and we also had a backhand with the city.
Also, all of those weird places exist. That theater exists. There's a 100-year-old lady who lives above it and has her whole life. That, the bowels of CBS Studios is where they shot One Life to Live and Dr. Oz. Like all of those places that you're like, this is insane, this is a fantasy, are just real places in New York where people are living real lives.
Okay, I had one last question. Sorry, I'm sure we can hang out afterwards and answer questions, but I had a question about the future of film. I feel like film is going through this turbulent time where we're kind of not really reliant on gatekeepers as much anymore, and there's a younger generation of people who are making stuff for smaller budgets in their backyards with their friends and family, and I just kind of wanted to talk to you all about where you see the future of film over the next 5 years, 10 years. So yeah, if you could just tell me your thoughts.
I mean, that's a big one. I don't know. I remember when, oh my God.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm a little sleep deprived. When I saw Tangerine, I was like, wow, this is something different across the board. And as someone who loves movies and is trying to write them and be in them and create them, I was like, this is a huge moment. This is a watershed moment, I think, in independent cinema. And not just because it was shot on an iPhone, because of the spirit of that film. I think we're starting to insist on hearing different types of voices. We're not allowing ourselves to hear different types of voices, which is a terrible thing to do. We're insisting that we have a sense of equity in the narratives that we're creating for people of color, for the people in the LGBTQIA communities. Like that's a thing that I have felt shift. And I'm only speaking for my personal self, but I'll tell you, as a gay woman, when I was growing up, I never saw myself in stories, ever. And if I did, it was a tragedy and the person died. Or was indicted for their gayness. And that's one small personal thing that I have felt a monumental shift, especially in independent cinema. And that's been huge to watch.
Yeah. I feel like Sean Baker is such a great director to bring up in this conversation. It just made me think of unconventional storytelling too. That there's so many stories that work so great in the Save the Cat model, but I think it's really important to have stories that don't have a formula to them that we're really familiar with. And I think Sean Baker does that. Like Florida Project, for example, is a movie I just loved that does not have a conventional story structure, and you really get wrapped up in that long summer with those children. And I think it's important for filmmakers to tell the story in the way that's best for that specific story, even if it is something we've never seen before. And so experimentation comes to mind. Yeah.
Seems like the gatekeepers are changing, hopefully.
And to have the gatekeepers take risks Sundance.
Helping each other up, and it changes people. Cinema changes people. I went to see Moonlight with my dad, and afterwards he said, "Wow, I never considered what that experience would be like." And I was like, oh, it worked. It works. And I think there's just, we're creating more opportunities for that to be the case. The more we, it's just look at the demographics of who are watching movies.
Yeah.
It's just basic math.
Yeah.
We live in a diverse world. We should have diverse stories.
What would you say to the next generation of kids that are coming up, looking at y'all as heroes? Someone in the middle of nowhere that's down and out and wants to tell their stories. What's the advice you'd give?
I am so into the next generation. They're so cool. I have a lot of hope because of the younger generation. Just the young people we've been talking to, even at the festival, are so emotionally intelligent and thoughtful and ambitious, and they're living in a new paradigm. They don't see things the way that we grew up seeing things. That's all really vague, but you guys can speak more specifically to it.
I would say your story is good enough. I think I spent a lot of insecure time, especially in my 20s, thinking, I don't know, is this too cliched or is this too staid? Is no one's going to find this interesting? But by virtue of the fact that the story is yours and it's true and it's your pain and it's your sense of humor, that's where you got to start. And everything else is just a matter of storytelling and creativity. But I wish I had somebody say, like, you're enough.
Yeah, we need you. We're looking to you. Yeah. You're our heroes.
Yeah. That is also well said, and I guess I'll just also touch on what we've already talked about today, which is find your community, because you cannot make a film alone. It is a team sport, and so find the people that you love working with.
Yeah, and I just echo what you guys have said. I think for me, I didn't know I wanted to make films till I was well into my 30s, and I had so many random other careers before I came to this. And for a little bit, I was like, well, it's too late for me to just do something completely new. I don't know about lenses. Like, how would I do that? And I found Jocelyn, and I'm like, she's so funny and brilliant.
She
and
also didn't know about lenses, but we learned
she also
together.
doesn't know about lenses, and we can watch YouTube videos and read books and bug our director friends to look at their shot lists and study them. And I guess just don't be afraid to do something you've never done before. You'll figure it out, and the first thing you make might be really bad, and that's okay.
Yes, very okay.
And with that, please help me to thank our filmmakers.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.